Pleased to have on the program here this morning from Downtown Fargo, Jim Gilmour. He is with the Strategic Planning Department with the City of Fargo. Mr. Gilmour, how are you, sir? Good to see you again.
Oh, thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Yeah, a little early duty here for you today, so thanks for doing it. Jim, when you see the black building here, I'm sure that you've seen this whole project for the last 3 years. They've been renovating this building from kind of the start to the finish. What strikes you about being here at a building like this and seeing how it's all come together?
This building has a lot of history. I think it's almost 100 years old. I look at the terrazzo on the flooring. These are the kind of things, the big windows, things you don't really see in a new building out on the edge of town or even a new building downtown.
Right.
So, great views from up here. We're on the 5th floor. There's three floors above us, so it'll be fun to watch this building fill up and be an opportunity for people to have their business, whether it's small or large, in the heart of the city.
Jim, there's a lot of conversation about the tax incentives that are available for developers, and Kilbourne has taken advantage of that probably more than any other group has, but they're certainly available for others to do as well. From your perspective, give us some advice. When someone asks you, are these tax incentives worthwhile? As a city planner, how do you answer people when they ask that question?
I think they're very worthwhile. First of all, if we just look at the economics, the value of downtown Fargo has gone from about $200 million 20 years ago when the Renaissance Zone started to over $600 million. That $400 million growth means the city, the county, the schools are collecting over $4 million more in property taxes from the downtown. That means everyone else's taxes are about 4% lower. So when you have a boost of all that kind of growth downtown, you don't have to raise property taxes as much elsewhere because the city sets a budget of a certain number of dollars, and it gets spread out throughout the city. And so that's when even if you don't support downtown, just the economics are very strong, especially for the people in the Fargo School District, because so much of the commercial tax base of the Fargo School District is in the downtown. All the stuff in West Fargo goes to West Fargo School District. The other thing is it just makes the downtown a more vibrant place. It's hard to put a dollar value on that, but when you have a fun place to bring people, whether it's to come down to have some ice cream or come down for dinner, that makes it easier to attract people to have their businesses in Fargo. I've had some businesses say, we can hire people from outside of town to come to Fargo. We also have offices in other towns in North Dakota, but people won't move there from the Twin Cities. They will come to Fargo. And so having a fun downtown is important to the overall economic growth of our community.
Commissioner Tony Gehrig, I think, has been a good voice in the City Commission by just raising questions and asking the tough questions that need to be asked. We need to know that our elected officials are keeping an eye on things, and that's all good. Tony's big point has been, hey, people would still do all this development even if we didn't offer these incentives. I know where Tony's coming from. I think that's a bit of I don't want to say dangerous because that's an inflamed word, but I don't know that you can assume that people would want to develop in the same way or to the same extent that they would. And having that whole overall vibe of this community as one that's friendly to developers and businesses coming in, I think there's value there that you maybe can't necessarily quantify in an equation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think every development is a public-private partnership. When Border States Electric wanted to build a new headquarters in Fargo, they looked at some downtown sites, but they decided to build on the fringe. The city had to use some infrastructure funding to put in a new road for them. And so if we don't, as well as provide some tax exemptions to keep them in Fargo. And so, we do it on the edge. They probably get a little less publicity for some of these companies. Aldeveron's another one that will receive a tax exemption on the edge of town. On the edge of town, we actually have to add new streets. So now we've got to get more streets plowed and that. But downtown, we haven't had to add any, new, snow plows for the downtown. We already have a fire department. So all that growth is already taken care of with existing services. So, and I think so the debate now, and I think even Commissioner Gehrig has acknowledged that if you go back to the 1990s, downtown Fargo was a hard place to get people to invest. I think what Commissioner Gehrig is saying now is, should we put up the mission accomplished banner and say this is good enough? And I think the rest of the commission says, no, let's keep going. We're successful. Let's build on that success, and let's let's push that value of the downtown even higher and keep people's property taxes more reasonable.
Here's how I look at it. There's only money being forfeited in these first few years of the abatement because there's money being created, right? And so you wouldn't have money to talk about if people wouldn't come in and develop the property. So what would you rather have? Would you like to have buildings sitting empty and then you could puff out your chest and say, there, we showed them, we're not going to give these rich people something. Meanwhile, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah, I think I look at this development that Gilmour worked on along Robert Street here. These were just vacant parking lots. It wasn't a very exciting place to come to. Now you've got restaurants and ice cream shops. And when these tax exemptions expire in just 5 years, the city's going to be getting $600,000 a year in property tax revenue that'll help, pay for the parking. Mm-hmm. Block 9, if you look at, the 200-plus construction workers that are working downtown, going out for lunch every day. Block 9, I think they paid over $500,000 in building permit fees to the city, for that building. And so, that's new revenue right now. Sales tax revenue is coming in right now. So even though the property tax revenue may not come in for a longer period of time, when you look back the 25 years I've been here, that's been vacant. We haven't gotten anything. So do you want to go ahead for another 25 years and not get anything with nothing there, or cash in 25 years from now?
Before I let you go, I got to ask you about the Mid-America Steel site. What's happening there?
This Mid-America Steel was almost all moved out. By the end of October, they will be moved out. We have some working with EPA and a consultant to identify what needs to be cleaned up to get that site ready for development. I think we want to have some public input on that because it's right next to the river. Some of it's in the floodplain, so what kind of public use do we want there? But there's also about 5 acres that are probably prime for development. Should that be a corporate headquarters? Should it be housing along the river? Mm-hmm. So we need to do some planning there. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have
it's a big space,
a very big space. It's got challenges because it's been an industrial site for many years. It's got a railroad line going through it. Yeah. So there's some challenges there, but I think that's one of the things that can really add to our riverfront and kind of help connect us to Moorhead.
Jim, thanks for coming by. Jim Gilmour, City of Fargo, Strategic Planning Office, joining us here on the Need to Know More Show. Thanks very much, Jim.